even plant. They only would eat things growing of themselves because they thought even settled life corrupted you. And they're talked about in the book of Jeremiah. Jonadab, the son of Rechab, jumps on the back of Jehu's chariot in order to help him in his religious reforms. That's where that's from. That's where that episode is taken from. I mean, the jumping on the back of the chariot. And the rest of it is taken from the conversion of Queen Helen's son. When they asked, do you understand the significance of what you are reading? He asked the Ethiopian eunuch. The eunuch relates to the circumcision of Helen's sons in a negative, contemptuous manner. And finally, he's not reading Genesis. He's reading the Isaiah 53:11, the suffering servant passage, upon which all Christian theology of appalling kind has been based ever since. And what does he do? He doesn't jump off the chariot and circumcise himself. What does he do? He immediately jumps off and is baptized. So there's nothing about baptism in the Isaiah 53 passage that he is reading. So, to my mind, that is what's going on here. You say, oh my God, that's incredible. Yes, what made me see that, and that's the high point of my James book, is when I hit Satori on the way these people were working, was the question, do you understand the significance of what you are reading? And I suddenly realized that I had heard that before, and I knew where that came from. And I then put the rest together, but the rest falls into place very nicely, because we know from Eusebius, as you read, and it's in Josephus too, that Helen sent her treasury agents to Palestine. Why did she send her treasury agents to Palestine, according to Eusebius Josephus? Well, there was a famine in the land. We're going to hear about the famine momentarily in Acts. It's out of place, but who's going to proclaim the famine? A prophet called Agabus. I tell you, there never was a prophet called Agabus. What there was the conversion of King Agabus. And that's what Acts is reproducing in his word Agabus, because Agabus, to my mind, is Queen Helen's husband, which is what Eusebius thinks too, and what Syriac sources think too, because Helen, these people married their half-brothers, the way Abraham supposedly married Sarah, and as you may recall, Abraham comes from northern Syria. In fact, he comes from a town right next to Edessa. And Edessa has an area called the Pools of Abraham because it honors the memory of Abraham as a founding father of that whole area. And I have a picture of the Pools of Abraham in my James book for that reason in Edessa. Anyway, Haran in northern Syria is about 40 miles or 40 kilometers south of present-day Edessa, where Abraham was supposed to have come from. Haran in northern Syria. And so they all would have held the name of Abraham in high regard. So Agabus in Syriac sources is considered to be Helen's husband. In Josephus, he has a different name, but that may just be different language traditions. He's called Basius, whatever that means. Monobasius, it's a Persian sort of name. So these people would have Semitic names, Agabus or Abgarus, or Persian names, depending on what tradition. Just like you have Greek and Latin names for everybody, and even Greek and Hebrew names for everybody. So they would have different names according to different religions. In any case, Eusebius, as you may recall, called Agabus the great king of the peoples beyond the Euphrates. Helen is the queen of one of the countries beyond the Euphrates. It is present-day Kurdistan. Its neighbors Edessa and the Edessenes. It's the next country over. And it was probably all part of his kingdom, and he would give it out to these various heirs and so on and so forth. So now he's presented as converting to Christianity. She's presented as converting to Judaism. But interestingly enough, in the story of the conversion of her family to Judaism and her sons, there's another teacher who accompanies Ananias. And Josephus makes it very clear there's a second unnamed teacher who gets in among the women folk in Queen Helen's harem, and they say that circumcision is not required. So Ananias and the second teacher, whom I think of course is Paul, do not consider circumcision necessary. Eliezer, on the other hand, does consider circumcision necessary. He would be the party of the circumcision, the James party. So all the elements are there, and you just have to read it. And finally, Paul and Barnabas are going to go up to Jerusalem at the beginning of the episode, where James, the brother of John, is going to be killed, and James, the brother of Jesus, is going to be introduced. That's why this is very complex material. Paul and Barnabas are going to go up. Do you know why they're going to go up to Jerusalem? To bring famine relief. Who's the person that sent famine relief to Jerusalem from Antioch on the Antioch by Caliro, Edessa, and those areas? Queen Helen. We know it in Josephus, we know it in Eusebius, we know it in the Talmud that Queen Helen sent famine relief to relieve the famine. What's my final summation? All these people are part of Queen Helen's entourage, if you like, or whatever you want to call it, and they are the intermediaries who are involved in this kind of area. And it says, she sent her treasury people to buy grain in Egypt and Cyprus in order to supply Jerusalem with grain. Well, that's where this guy is going. He's on his way to Egypt, Gaza. Gaza is the gateway to Egypt. And that's what I think is really going on here. Nobody came up from Nubia. Nobody came up from Ethiopia this time. Those are thousands of miles away. Those people didn't bring treasure from Nubia. They wouldn't have gotten 200 miles with their treasure before they were held up by bandits. It's just just nonsense. That's all I can tell you. It's nonsense. But it's nonsense covering over some very important materials. And the materials have to do with this issue of circumcision, and that's what the eunuch thing is. Now, I may be wrong. Now, it's an alternate version, and you choose the one you like better. I like doing history in a thoughtful manner, and you guys decide what you feel. Okay? So, I don't have to read the story as it is, because you can read it as it is. And if it makes sense to you as it is, that's fine. Anyway, Philip evaporates after baptizing the eunuch, who also evaporates and is never heard from again.